your journey. And my question for Bruce is that once you became intellectually and emotionally convinced of the truth of Catholicism, did you, or do you still, have lingering uneasiness about some of the cultural aspects of the faith? For example, things like the monstrance, relic, statues. When I was a Protestant, I had a visceral animosity towards these kinds of things. How do you conquer these kinds of feelings? Even if you have an intellectual conviction, your gut reaction can be very real and very deep. Thank you, and God bless you both. Thank you, Jennifer, for that question.
That's a very good question that Jennifer asked, because I think every convert that comes into the church, you can't destroy who you were in the past. You can't totally remake your emotional being, the fiber of your being. And there were things that I found difficult culturally, as she's saying. While I might have accepted the veracity of the Marian doctrines, it could be that some of the devotional expressions would make me feel a little uncomfortable. Not because they were necessarily wrong, but because I was not familiar with them.
Yeah.
And you'd have these little inclinations to jump to conclusions and say, what do they mean by that? What do they mean by that? That's one of the blessings my children, I think, have. My children have grown up praying the rosary, praying the Hail Holy Queen, having brown scapulars. They're not going to have those knee-jerk reactions. And I suspect, I may continue to have some knee-jerk reactions sometimes to some things cultural, but I also know this. You've always heard the phrase, time heals all wounds. Well, for 15 years now, I've been becoming more acculturated to the Catholic faith, and I have very few things like that bother me anymore. Very few.
Yeah, I've used the prayer that, remember the Father who, Jesus says, do you believe I can heal your son? And the Father answers,
yes.
I believe, help my unbelief.
Yes.
And I think that's a prayer that many converts have to continue to pray. I believe it. Now it's going to take me a while to fully realize what it is and its meaning. And the problem is not the devotion. The problem's me. Right?
Exactly. And I'm glad you brought that prayer up, because that's a prayer I share not only with people on the journey to the Catholic faith, but with Catholics. Because Catholics even can sometimes find their own faith being challenged. I know this is what the church teaches. I believe it. Go sit before the Lord in the most blessed sacrament in a monstrance and say, Lord, I believe